Hello, my name is Mishlina Iso. I am the English and Education Programs Manager for British Council for Syria, operating from Beirut. Today I'm going to speak about our Teaching for Success program, more particularly the online mentorship for classroom action research in Syria. And I am going to answer all your questions after the full presentations of my colleagues Hala and Dina. So now it has been 10 years for the conflict in Syria, and as a result, education is one of the most affected sectors, with 1 in 3 schools has been damaged. Also, classrooms are oversized because of the damage, and also because some schools are not functioning, and also because of the internal displacement. Teachers are not being paid, and also adding to that now the currency devaluation, which is hitting the wider Syrian economy. Many teachers have left the country, and those who are currently teaching do not receive any professional development or also pre-service training. There is also many education system inside the country with diverse curricula and multiple administrations. So there is one in the northeast Syria, and then another one in the northwest, and then a third one for the more governmental areas. The needs are massive, and now 2 million children are out of school, youth and children are out of school, and also 245,000 teachers have been affected. The education response has been led by Save the Children and UNICEF inside Syria. And as we British Council, when we've done our mapping, we found that it was more of access to education response, where there is a lot of schools rehabilitation, psychosocial support, and trauma programs. And there was a lack of focus on teachers' capacity building and continuous professional development. So this is where we formed our response as a British Council, and we developed our Teaching for Success, which is a British Council global program, but we contextualized it to meet the needs of Syria. And it has two components: online courses on methodology of teaching, whether English language teaching or the wider or generic pedagogy courses, and also virtual mentorship for classroom action research. And this is what I am going to talk about today. The program consists of online self-study modules, and in addition to moderated sessions by English Arabic speaking teacher trainers, and it aims at helping teachers to improve their performance and achieve better results for their learners, and eventually contribute to the quality of education in Syria. So the main idea was not to get teachers becoming researchers at the end of the course or produce papers, but rather to become more independent, more autonomous, have more leadership on teaching and learning process in their own classrooms. And this would help the sustainability for our programs when teachers are more leaders on their professional development and how to respond to problems in their classrooms. So it was more to help them become keen observers, to notice and what they are doing and what their students are doing in their classroom, and to seek feedback, to encourage feedback, and to know how to construct their feedback, to tailor teaching and learning to their learners and to their specific contexts. Of course, to increase their knowledge of the learning and teaching and become the authorities on teaching, and to become less dependent on decisions made by other people who are away from the learning and teaching that is happening in their classroom, people like textbook writers and school administrators. So this is an overview of the learning journey within the course. Teachers would first be studying online, read some papers, watch some videos, and also do exercises. And then they meet their e-moderator or teacher trainer to do or to be exposed to more theoretical knowledge on classroom action research. And then they would start implementing in the classroom. And when I say implementing, it was the different phases of the research where they first need to notice to be able to identify the exact problem, and then they do observation, they develop their tools, and they start also implementing their plan. So the idea was that to help them more identify what are the problems and to have keen observation while they are noticing. There was also they would, after applying or trying things in their classroom, they would write in the forum, and there was also some journals on how things went, what were their reflections. We had also we have been using also WhatsApp for this program, and it was very accessible for teachers, and it was also used for one-to-one consultations, because the nature of the course was at the very beginning was in groups, like teachers would be exposed to the norms and approaches in groups, and then when they decide on like their own research question or problem, they would have one-to-one consultation with their e-moderator, and that happened sometimes over WhatsApp because it's more accessible inside Syria. Syria was one of the teachers who participated in this pilot program, and I'm going to briefly talk about her experience within the course. She is a grade 4 English teacher from Damascus, and she has more than 5 years teaching experience. When she came to the course, Syria spoke about her problem as that during the writing, she noticed that her students are making a lot of grammatical mistakes in their first draft. Although they had been studying those rules and practiced them for the whole year, many students couldn't remember those rules during the writing process. And even when she asked them to review their work, her students believed that it's the best piece of writing. And when they edit their first draft, she noticed that they would edit everything, but they wouldn't consider looking at grammar as part of their editing. And while reviewing, they can hardly identify any grammar mistakes. They tend to rush this stage despite the fact that they are given enough time. This is how she viewed the problem, and this was her perspective. We're going to see how she would change her perspective and how she sees the problem now. And because of like this challenge, she decided to investigate this problem more. Being supported by her e-moderator and with like regular consultations, she would write her journals, record her classes, analyze the writing drafts or samples from her students. She also did surveys to understand the problem from her colleagues' perspective, from her students' perspective, and to form a wider understanding. And after like a lengthy process, which like took almost 5 months, she was able to identify the exact problem, and that her students are basically not reviewing the first draft. They don't know how to review to edit their first draft, and she is not giving so much focus to the editing stage. They also don't know how to use the checklist she is providing them, and they don't see any relation between grammar and writing. She is reteaching the rule, but not in the context of writing. So she doesn't show them the connection between the rule and and their own writing. So these are like briefly the findings that she noticed when after like doing all the analysis. And then after that, she puts a plan for how she is going to respond, how she is going to reconsider teaching, the different stages of teaching writing, reviewing the checklists that she is providing her students, listening more to them so they can provide their perception as well. And as a result, she feels now more confident. She's more reflective on her own like professional practices in the classroom, and her students are now more enjoying more the feedback and how they review each other's work, and the peer work that she has been like doing more in her classroom, and she became more percipient and more independent. Although this pilot helped many teachers and contributed to some change in classrooms inside Syria, we also faced many challenges while implementing. One of them, of course, is the internet and electricity, which are extremely in a bad situation inside Syria, and power cuts happen sometimes for days, and teachers would not have access to speak to or attend any sessions. And also, of course, like one challenge that is not mentioned here, but now it's like more common, the pandemic, which hindered some implementation of activities for some teachers when schools were closed. So there was like a different timeline for each teacher. And we also faced a problem in the language. So teachers who participated in this program were English teachers and also classroom teachers. So some of them would not be able to read the full materials that we share with them in English, and we tried translation, but sometimes the context is different, and there is no enough Arabic materials on classroom action research. So sometimes language would hinder the engagement with some teachers. Also, because this was a pilot program, the criteria that we've put for selecting teachers were based on knowledge from the context, and we wanted to test that. And some teachers who didn't have like enough teaching experience were finding it hard to absorb the problem and the concept of action research, and also to be able to reflect on their professional practices. So the content was sometimes a bit advanced, I'm gonna say, and it needed more time for some teachers who would have less experience than others. So in terms of observation, the way how we see the change is from the lens of the teachers and how they reflect and tell us about what is happening in the classrooms. We don't have an office inside the country, so and we don't work with like governments, so all the impact that we're getting is from the teacher's lens. So there is some gap in us knowing like more on a classroom level how our things are changing. So this remain a gap and a limitation because of the nature of British Council's work, which is purely online, and it doesn't include any face-to-face engagements.